astrology update. This one's going to be for part of my celebrity series, my celeb pop kind of videos. So if you're joining me, thank you. Don't forget to give me a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe so you don't miss any of my content. Drop some comments on some celebrity videos you would like to see where I'm having a quick look at their natal chart. Obviously this is not super in-depth, like astrology readings can take a really long time and there's so much to look at and so much to dive into, so this is just like really basic looks into them. And I find that celebrities are really easy to kind of look at because a lot of their life is very public, and a lot of the stuff we do kind of know about, so it's easy for you guys to connect with, and hopefully you enjoy these videos. But in my last video I did Kendall Jenner, and this one I am doing Miss Kylie Jenner, so I really hope that you guys enjoy this one. But let's jump into it. So don't mind me looking at my phone, I've just got Kylie's chart on here, so I'm just going to read from her chart and just give you guys a little rundown on it. I'll try and keep it quick because I know the last video that I did on Kendall was almost like 40 minutes, but it does take a bit to kind of explain this energy. So Miss Kylie, let's start off with her rising sun and moon, the big three. So her rising sign is Capricorn, so that I find really interesting, and I always think Capricorn risings have a very like sexy, sleek, traditional, like boss energy to them and look about them. So I definitely think we do get that with Kylie. You definitely can tell she's got that, you know, leadership, boss kind of quality to her, and very hardworking. So Capricorns can be extremely hardworking, very like reputation, legacy, career focused as well. And I don't think there's any denying that Kylie Jenner works her butt off. Like she is extremely hardworking, and it looks like, you know, her makeup business is doing quite well. And considering she's the youngest in her family, she's also one of the most successful. I know obviously usually people are saying that, you know, Kim makes the most money and is the most successful, but low-key I think Kylie, for how young she's been, like I think she's been quoted as like a billionaire, which wouldn't surprise me, but that's amazing for her age. And she's a mum of two, so I mean, like there's a lot going on. But let's talk about Capricorn rising, so the ascendant, the rising sign. This usually is ruling over the first house in a natal chart. So you have the natal chart with the 12 houses and all the zodiac signs and planets in them. I'll do a proper video explaining all of that if you guys don't know, but I'm assuming if you're watching these videos you might have a little bit of an understanding of astrology or just interest in spiritual stuff. But Capricorn's the physical appearance, because the first house rules your physical body, your appearance, your brand and your identity. It's also the mask you wear, it's how other people perceive you when they first meet you, it's the vibe and the energy that you give off. So Kylie gives off, as I said, really reliable, structured, traditional vibes who are very hardworking. But the physical appearance, they can be quite bony with Capricorn rising, so especially like in their facial features, they might have like strong facial features. Their facial features can be similar to a goat, not meaning that in a mean way, but just like the sharpness and the edges of it, and like eyebrows and piercing eyes and stuff, and the strong bones. And that's because in astrology, Capricorn's ruled by the sea goat. Very similar to Aries, where Aries is ruled by the ram. So you will get some of those looks about them, more earthy to them, because Capricorn is an earth sign, so money, practical, earthy, probably a little bit more kind of like feminine vibes to them. So they can be a little bit more on the shorter side too at times, so they're not overly tall unless maybe they've got like Saturn or something in that first house, or like trines or something from Saturn that's kind of making them a little bit taller. And yeah, so that's a little bit about their physical appearance. It's a ding for confirmation from my phone. So with Kylie, and I use whole sign, the whole sign house system. So she technically has Neptune in her first house. If you were looking at Placidus, then technically she would have Neptune, Uranus and Jupiter in that first house, but I use whole sign systems and I'm a traditional astrologer, more modern traditional astrologer. I'd use like traditional planets and modern planets in my readings that I do. But yeah, let's just go whole signs, and it's tropical traditional astrology that I'm kind of looking at. With Neptune being in her first house, this means that people might project a lot onto her. She also films very well, photographs very well. The media could be really drawn to her looks to photograph her and stuff like that. It also means she likes to put an illusion out there of who she is and what she looks like, and she might dress up a lot with makeup and costumes and outfits and style and stuff like that. She'll be very dreamy and whimsical with her look and her presence, the way she moves, the way she looks, very dreamy. It's also one of those planets that gives off a vibe of being very glamorous and famous. So that, again, attracting attention in that way is quite amazing, and it fits her quite well. And Kylie does play around with her makeup, and she is very kind of creative with her looks and her style and how she presents herself. And I think you can definitely tell a lot of people do project their ideas onto her, on who they think she is, especially being like a bit of a sex symbol and all that kind of stuff. Like, I feel like she feels very misunderstood, and like a lot of people don't really get the real Kylie, and they want her to be something that maybe she's not really. So again, Neptune, basically people have troubles with boundaries, and like people project onto them, and I think that's definitely seen with Kylie. And the second house for Kylie is ruled by Aquarius, and again, I mentioned I'm using whole sign houses, so please don't forget that. Aquarius, so the second house is all about your money, your possessions, what you value, those sorts of things. And so hers being ruled by Aquarius means that she really values those topics, those Aquarian topics and themes. So friendships. She really likes to be rebellious, unique, authentic, very smart. And with Aquarius ruling her second house, she's very smart with making money. She has like these great genius ideas on how to make money. And the things that she values might be very humanitarian as well. Like she might, really value charities and trying to be, helpful in that aspect. And as I said, her friendships, really value her friendships and her close, authentic friendships as well. And Uranus is in that second house along with Jupiter as well. So Uranus is in rulership and is quite happy to be in Aquarius, which it traditionally rules. And so with Uranus and Jupiter being in that second house, Jupiter shows luck, abundance, money, all of those things, good fortune. It's about culture, philosophy, travel, all those sorts of things. And Uranus shows like change and sudden, unexpected changes. So think like sudden increases in money, or changes to what she, like sudden changes to her value system and what she values and stuff like that. Which, I think we've seen definitely Kylie evolve quite a fair bit. So that's not surprising either. But that just shows like sudden changes to her money and her possessions, and Jupiter's showing like good luck and fortune. I mean, she's quite rich and she's very unique and very smart with her business ideas and how she makes money, so that's not surprising. She has Pisces ruling her third house, and the third house is all about your communication, your thoughts, your learning. It can talk about primary school, it can talk about your siblings, your neighborhood, it can talk about short distance travel and things like that. So she's got Pisces ruling that, so very dreamy, very much it can be to do with film and illusions, romance, all of those sorts of things. So very creative energy as well. So it's ruling her third house. So her communications and thoughts are definitely very, very dreamy, kind of like, often fantasy land. So her thoughts and the way she communicates and those sorts of things can be very Piscean. And the ruler is in her first house, so she might do that thing where she thinks about herself a lot and quite like often dreamland, think about herself quite a fair bit. Siblings and stuff like that, the relationships could be very compassionate, but also probably very isolating, because Pisces energy is like withdrawal, isolating, is very spiritual. So they could be spiritually connected, but also very like isolated and stuff like that as well. A lot of creative energy there, as I mentioned. So her fourth house is ruled by Aries. So the fourth house is home and family. It also usually refers to the mother. It can show the aesthetics you have in a house. It can show how you were raised by your mum, and what you'll be like as a parent with your home and those sorts of things. So Aries is very bold, it's very busy, it's very quick, it's very pioneering and assertive, and very independent and sporty. And I think that's, you know, probably does explain her life and her childhood. She probably had to be very independent, even being the youngest, but they were filming Keeping Up with the Kardashians when she was quite young, and you know, she had a lot of siblings, so I can imagine it was very chaotic, very busy, and her mum probably needed her to be quite independent, and maybe instilled those values and that in her, to be very independent and busy. As for like home decor and stuff like that in the house, again, I would assume that maybe there could be a lot of passion, maybe a lot of independence, maybe some arguments, conflicts and stuff like that. The decor in her house might be, you know, things that are like quick and easy and, you know, very unique to her. So they could be things that just make her day-to-day life very much easier. So, you know, I'm thinking like appliances and stuff like that are, you know, quite bold and pioneering and really make her life like quick and easy, like coffee machines and juices and stuff like that, where she's just like can grab things and do things really quickly. That's what I would get that vibe as. Taurus rules over her fifth house of children and creativity and fun and romance and pleasure. So that means that for her, fun and pleasure, and the way she is as a parent is very grounded, very down to earth, very comforting and stuff like that. And her creativity is very much linked to her senses, her five senses, very grounded and earthy and practical. Then you've got Gemini ruling her sixth house. So sixth house is talking about her health, her fitness, her daily routine, and the tasks and duties that she does every day at work, and co-workers and pets all fall into that sixth house. So health-wise, she might struggle with things like anxiety. She might have an extremely busy schedule, because Gemini is very busy, it's very curious, it's always doing multitasking, doing different things. So that's what her everyday is going to be like. That's what her routine's like. That's you know, what it's all about for her. Gemini is also to do with media, can be linked to social media and filming. So I mean, Keeping Up on the Kardashians, that all makes quite a lot of sense there. And then Cancer rules over her seventh house of relationships, and so these can be close, any kind of close one-on-one relationships. So think best friends, you know, family members that she's really close to. It can be your marriage partner, romantic partners. It can be also business partners and those kind of partnerships. And it can also be like clients and stuff like that, when you're working one-on-one with clients. So, and Cancer energy is like the mother. It's very nurturing, very emotional, very supportive, and very comforting. So I would expect in her close one-on-one relationships with her romantic partners, she would be very mothering, very nurturing, very caring. She would be the one that people come to kind of, you know, fix things and make them kind of feel better, and she'd probably be the one that people vent to. Obviously, you look to her ruler, which is in Scorpio, so the moon being in Scorpio, that could explain a bit about her, the way she is in relationships, being very deep and very psychological as well in that support there. And then she has Leo ruling the 8th house, which is where her sun is. And I forgot to mention this at the start. I did start off and I was like, I'm going to talk about the big three, and I only talked about Capricorn and then kind of went on. I will get more into the moon and stuff when I get to the Scorpio house. But essentially her rising was Capricorn, her sun is in Leo, and her moon is in Scorpio. So yeah, very interesting. She's got a mixture of water with the Scorpio moon, fire energy with the Leo sun, and then earth with the Capricorn rising. So very balanced there. But let's just talk about the Leo 8th house and the sun. So the 8th house is about you know, the house of other people's money, it's the house of other people's possessions, money, so think inheritances, think debts, loans, your like marriage partner or your partner's money and income, business's income. It's also the house of secrets and transformations. It's sex, death, rebirth, all of those sorts of things. So that all falls into that house there. And with the sun there, it means investing and inheritances and stuff like that. Could be where she shines, what people notice. And I mean, obviously she's inherited a fair bit of money and got a lot of fame through the Kardashians, through her family, through her dad. And she's also made like quite a lot of investments. She's got quite a few businesses that she makes a lot of really good money. The 8th house is very secretive though. So there is a very secret side to Kylie, a very private side, a side that she probably doesn't want to show with people. You have to get really close to her so that you can get that deep bond with her for her to open up her true self-identity. Otherwise, you know, if you don't get to that point with her, like a lot of it is very secluded and secret, like you wouldn't really know her true self. And she would pretty much, you know, probably would want to keep to herself, which is very controversial to the whole Leo energy, where Leo wants to shine, it wants to be seen, it wants to perform, it wants to be loved and adored. And it makes a lot of sense because she's quite public but then quite private. She posts a lot of things, you know, at home privately and stuff of herself, but you know, she also does like to keep very secretive, and she's alluded to the fact that a lot of people don't really know her true self and her true identity. And I feel like that could be very much that Leo in the 8th house energy. And you know, that feeling of not really knowing her self-identity and who she is. Then we've got Virgo ruling the 9th house. So the 9th house is overseas travel, it's higher education, it's spirituality, religion, higher self, all of those sorts of things. So your belief systems as well. Virgo is very much, it's, you know, very logical. It's another earth sign. It's really practical, logical, you know, wants to fix things, figure things out. It's very health focused and stuff like that as well, high health and hygiene focused. So having that in her 9th house, you know, I would assume that when she wants to go overseas and go traveling, like it's very much, you've got to stick to a good routine and have like a way for her to keep her routine and health up to scratch when she's traveling. Also, a lot of her publishing and beliefs and stuff like that would be about health and about being practical, about being logical. Sorry, my little one was just crying, so I just had to quickly go grab him, sit him on my lap and finish off this reading. So don't mind me if you see me looking down or if you hear him. But I was talking about Virgo and her 9th house. So Virgo is the sign of being of service to other people, helping other people. So with Kylie, she actually has her Mercury in Virgo, which is in rulership there because Mercury is ruled by Virgo, rules Virgo, I should say. She's also got her North Node and Venus there. So Venus is what she loves. It's her pleasures, it's her relationship planet. It can also be linked to money. So with her Venus being there, she really values and loves that Virgo energy and traveling and culture, and her beliefs might be really strong around love and being of service to people. So you kind of got to mesh it all up, but yeah, she would really enjoy in her relationships things like good hygiene and health focus, a good routine, someone reliable, someone that's, you know, really helpful, and she'd be very much of service when she's in relationships, trying to help them with things. And as I said, her beliefs and her traveling would be very much relationship focused and very much to do with Mercury activities, so probably contracts and filming would be her biggest reasons for traveling. And it could also be like work related with that Gemini 6th house and stuff like that as well. And that could also be linked in with siblings, like traveling, doing stuff with siblings, because Mercury can represent siblings as well, because it traditionally was Gemini, and Gemini traditionally was the 3rd house of siblings. So those sorts of things can all come into play there. And her North Node is very much conjunct Venus in that Virgo 9th house. So she's come to this life, if you believe in past lives and stuff like that, to learn about relationships, to find true love and her partner, and that's part of her life's destiny. and that could be found through traveling, through higher education, or through some kind of spirituality, religious kind of group as well. Then we have the 10th house, which is Libra, and she's got her Mars and Chiron there in that Libra house. So Libra is all about beauty, diplomacy, relationships, contracts, fairness, balance, harmony, you know, art and beauty, all of those sorts of things. It's an air sign, it's very charismatic, and it's all about cooperation. And having that rule in her 10th house of career, reputation and legacy makes a lot of sense, because she makes like beautiful art and makeup, and she's very much seems to be a relationship focused person, and even her, like being on the Kardashians, is very much about her relationships and cooperation. And you know, obviously a huge part of her job is and what she's known for is like her networking, her friends, partying, her relationships, that social side to her. And that beauty and like her looks and stuff is very feminine, very beautiful. Having Mars there brings that sex appeal, that passion, that action, that fire to it. So Mars is very much the planet of like sex and passion and desire and action, what you're fighting for and fighting with. So her career is very, very important to her, something she spends a lot of her time and energy on. Also in the public eye, she's very much sexualized and very sexy and very beautiful, but in a feminine way. With that Libra there, Chiron shows that she's got some pain and wounds around that, and some healing that she's got to do, and healing that she can do when she opens up about those things, like in you know, interviews and stuff like that, where she's talked about, you know, not feeling herself and like using makeup as a bit of a disguise and all those sorts of things. That's that kind of Chiron healing energy. However, her MC is like only just in Libra there at 29 degrees. So I was just checking the degrees, but it was very much on the cusp between Libra and Scorpio. But you can definitely see that Scorpio energy in her career and reputation as well. Very sexy, very mysterious, very secretive. But technically her MC does fall into Libra, which makes a lot of sense. Then we've got her 11th house, which is ruled by Scorpio. So as I was mentioning, Scorpio is very much about deep bonds, transformation, sex, death, rebirth. It's all about secrets and lies, finding all that stuff out. It's very powerful, very emotional. It's a water sign. And she's got her moon here in that house, that 11th house. So she might have a lot of female friends. She might have a lot of really deep bonds with her friendships. If she doesn't have a large group of friends, the small group that she does have, they're very, very closely bonded, and they know her very, very well. They know a lot of her secrets, her deepest desires, and they are, you know, very emotionally linked to her, and they bring out her emotions, and they make her feel emotionally secure. Or, you know, if the relationships and friendships aren't going well, they can make her feel very vulnerable and emotionally insecure. So friendships are a big source of that emotional security for Kylie. And are quite important to her, and that's where she expresses a lot of her emotions, would be to her close friends. Otherwise she's very secretive and guarded with her emotions. It also shows that she can be a little bit vindictive or maybe jealous of her friends as well, because Scorpio can have a bit of a mean streak. They're ruled by obviously the Scorpion, and they've got the stinger, so when they're hurt they can lash out. And Scorpions do have that very hard shell, protective armor as such, ready for battle, and they're usually ruled traditionally by Mars. Excuse me. She then has Sagittarius ruling her 12th house. So the 12th house is the house of transcendence. It's a house of spirituality, isolation, withdrawal, institutions like hospitals. It can be linked to mental health, prisons, all that kind of stuff. So Sagittarius energy is really about finding out who you really are and your inner wisdom. It's about like traveling and culture, blessings, your beliefs. They're the travelers, they're the gypsies. Sagittarius energy is like they're on a quest, they're a fire sign, so they're obviously really adventurous. and very curious in that sense. And they like to have fun and like being, be doing something on the go quite a lot. So that will in her 12th house. So the 12th house is also about like sleep and retreat as well. So our sleeps and our dreams. So that kind of just shows, and she's got Pluto there in that Sagittarius. So Sagittarius 12th house. So there's potentially, some psychological trauma that's kind of like really hidden, even maybe from her, because usually the 12th house planets in there are kind of hidden from the native until they really learn how to unlock them and learn about their true deeper selves and transcend. But some psychological issues there, maybe around power and control, and her friendships and stuff like that, and maybe some hidden enemies there as well with her friendships. She might find working behind the scenes with people from other cultures, that are from other countries and stuff like that. That might be very beneficial for her, because it can also, the 12th house can also be working behind the scenes. Also for her, when she's by herself and when she's wanting to connect to herself on a spiritual level, those Sagittarian practices can be really good. So finding a religion or a belief that she believes in, finding a way to tap into her inner wisdom, and traveling for her might be something as well that's quite helpful for her connecting to her true self-identity in that sense. And so that is Kylie Jenner in a quick little nutshell. So let's just quickly recap, just to make sure you guys kind of understood it all and I haven't missed anything. With her moon in Scorpio, very, very deep, intense emotions there. And as I mentioned, around her friendships, her sun being very private in that 8th house, but really good for potentially her money situations through her business and stuff like that. But also makes her kind of a little bit misunderstood there. Mercury in Virgo means she communicates very Virgoan, so she's very, very critical, very practical, very logical, and very analytical with how she speaks to people and the way she thinks and stuff like that. But remember, she had that Pisces 3rd house energy, so she's got that mixture of that Pisces energy. It's very dreamy and thinking about herself quite a fair bit, but then it's also very critical and analytical, and it very much is thinking about that Gemini 6th house. And then the Virgo 9th house of like travel and stuff like that. So there's a lot of that stuff there for her. Venus in Virgo, again, like as I mentioned, so she finds a lot of pleasure in her health routines. So not surprising that she ended up getting into makeup and those kind of products, like skincare routine, glowy skin, her bath and makeup rituals, hygiene. That whole routine there could be very spiritual for her. It could be something that she really truly believes in and finds really helpful. She's probably, surprisingly, she's probably studied that stuff quite a lot as well. 9th house is higher education and study. Virgo is very much very logical, very practical, and wants to like learn and be of service. So that's not surprising. Again, the Jupiter in the 2nd house shows a bit of money and support there, and good blessings there. Saturn in the Aries 4th house shows that her mum could have been quite strict on her. Her whole family environment could have been very restrictive, and very much you need to be responsible. You need to kind of grow up quite early, and being in Aries, it's very about independence. And I forgot to mention the 10th house is usually the father, so the 4th house is usually related to the mother and the home environment. Father is the 10th house and career and reputation, that 10th house there. And her 10th house is Libra, and her father was a lawyer. So the legal system and diplomacy and all that kind of stuff is definitely very much Libra energy. So think about the scales and justice and all that kind of stuff. Definitely that shows her father energy right there, being a lawyer. So I forgot to mention that. But yeah, they were pretty much the most important things I really wanted to mention about Miss Kylie Jenner. When it comes to her career, I think we've spoken about quite a fair bit of them, but I haven't really touched too much on her relationships and romance. I mean, I did speak a bit about the Cancer in the 7th house, and I did speak a little bit about Venus being in Virgo, because you will definitely want to check out Venus. You definitely want to look at the 7th house and the 5th house for relationships. So 12th Taurus rules her 5th house, so romance-wise, she likes to be wined and dined, and she likes the comfort. So she'd be the one that would love to stay at home with cheeses and wines and like kind of those kind of like fancy bougie stuff, but like in a very comforting, like, you know, practical, grounded way, with her 5 senses being kind of like explored and opened up there. And then the 7th house, Cancer, again is that nurturing, mothering energy, that emotional connection. Again, it's about the home, so she'd enjoy to do things in private and at home. Very nostalgic there. And then her Venus in Virgo shows that she really values things like health, hygiene, routine, someone that's reliable, practical, and, you know, somebody that she can be of service to and someone that's going to be of service to her. So those are all the qualities that are really important to Kylie in a relationship. Also that Mars in Libra, you know, that's another element, because usually Venus shows how we attract our partners and the things that we love and find pleasurable. Mars shows our, shows sex, it shows passion, desire, and how we go after things, and it can show our partners. So hers being in Libra, Mars being in Libra, shows that she really likes harmony and peace and balance in her relationships as well with her partners. And then Jupiter surprisingly shows the husband. So her Jupiter in Aquarius, she, you know, her husband, if she gets married, could be quite rebellious, quite humanitarian. It could be quite a good friend of hers, be very unique and quirky kind of person, or just could have some of those qualities, or they could literally have Aquarian placements. But yeah, her husband, if she gets married to a male, will have those aspects, those Aquarian aspects to them. So thanks for joining me. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.